in at number 10, we have The Musician. Apparently, the ship's musicians stayed on board playing music to calm passengers until the bitter end. The tragic image of the lonely musicians playing as the ship went down is a classic vignette from the Titanic. It's almost too poetic, but it actually did happen. This urban legend has been fact-checked. Many survivors later told similar tales of seeing the 8 young musicians performing on deck. None, however, survived the disaster. There's some disagreement as to what their final song was. Some survivors recalled hearing "Nearer My God to Thee," while another contemporary account names the last tune as "Autumn." But considering "Nearer My God to Thee" has better mythic resonance, it's the one usually employed in movie adaptations.
Number 9, which is waking up in a morgue. In Victorian times, people used to be pretty scared of waking up buried inside their coffins, but today there's a much more modern fear: waking up in a morgue refrigerator. In 2011, doctors at a hospital in LA were brought to court in a lawsuit by the family of the deceased Maria de Jesus Arroyo. Now, they didn't give her any bad medicine or failed to treat her properly when she came in, but what they did do was arguably worse than that. Investigators discovered that Arroyo was still alive when she was pronounced dead and placed inside the morgue's freezer. They said the cuts and bruises on her face were from her struggle to escape the zipper bag as she froze to death. Is that not just your worst nightmare come true? Alright, let's move on to another urban legend that came true, with a carnival corpse in at number 8. We've all seen those spooky corpses at carnivals and we all know they're not real, right? Right? Think again, because in 1976, a mummified body prop that was being moved on set at a California carnival turned out to be an actual mummified body. It was that of Elmer McCurdy, a criminal killed in a shootout in 1911. His body ended up in the hands of carnival promoters who took him on a tour all over America to show the kids how realistic he was. Well, it's not hard to make something look realistic when it's the real thing. Moving on to number 7, and it's that urban myth that the escalator might swallow you up. We've all heard the horror stories about how this might happen. You might get sucked into the escalator, but for one woman, this actually came true. This year, security camera footage emerged of a Chinese woman dying in a freak escalator accident. The video starts off normally enough as we see her with her son going up the escalator, but when they reach the top, the unthinkable happens. The panel below them collapses. As she fell into the gap, she had just enough time to push her son forward to safety before she slipped into the mechanism and was found dead by the time they got her out. This whole story is made even more tragic when you find out that staff at the shopping mall realised there was something wrong with the panel 5 minutes before this, but didn't stop the escalator. On to our number 6 urban legend that's actually true, and it's the dead body in a rolled up carpet. We've all grown up watching those movies where the gangsters shoot someone then roll them up in a carpet, but that's just a movie cliche, right? I mean, they don't actually do that, do they? 3 Columbia University students would disagree. They picked up a discarded rolled up carpet from outside a house and found a corpse inside it when they took it home. The police said they were going to decorate their dorm with a carpet before recoiling in horror as they unrolled it to find the body of an unidentified black male in his 20s with 2 bullet wounds to his head. These guys are probably paranoid as hell now when they go to IKEA. They're probably like, there's no dead body in this duvet, is there, right? Because I've had stuff like this happen before. I think after that kind of shock, these guys probably need a good stiff drink, which is a good thing because we've got Hair of the Dog in at number 5. Hair of the Dog is an urban legend that if you feel a bit hungover in the morning after a night of partying, drinking a little bit of alcohol will help ease the hangover. It sounds like an excuse made up by party animals to just keep drinking into the morning, but apparently there's actually some method to the madness. Research has shown that alcohol can relieve the symptoms of a hangover if taken in small doses. This is because a hangover is a symptom of alcohol withdrawal, and so giving the body a bit of alcohol helps to ease the pain. The only problem though is this can lead to a bit of a dependence on alcohol to cure a hangover, which means you drink more alcohol, which means you have a worse hangover to drink more alcohol, and it's, yeah, you can see it's a pretty vicious cycle. Alright, finish up your drinks as we're moving on to number 4 with human flesh being found in food. Now, this urban legend has existed in popular culture for quite some time. People unknowingly eating other people. Do we have any Sweeney Todd fans in the house? But it actually happened once. A chef called David Vaines confessed to killing his wife and slow cooking her. In October 2009, Vaines said he just got violent and used duct tape to tape his wife Dawn's mouth shut. When she died as a result, he put her body in a 55-gallon drum of boiling water and slowly cooked her for 4 days. I'm just picturing him checking the body every couple of days to see if it's done. I guess being a chef kind of prepared him for this gruesome task. Say cheese, guys, we're at number 3, and guess what? Cheese does give you nightmares. It's a long-held urban legend that cheese can send you a bit wacky when you're asleep, but guess what? Science has actually backed it up. Theories have suggested that a combination of the bacterial and fungal elements that can be found naturally in cheese are to blame for society's claim that fromage can cause fright in the night. Apparently, these bacteria and fungus contain psychoactive ingredients which have the potential to send your mind all over the place when you're asleep. But it's not always nightmares. Scientists say that sometimes cheese can just give you nice, colourful dreams. Yet another reason why cheese is the best thing in the world. Alright guys, we've reached number 2, and it's Bloody Mary. No, I'm not annoyed at someone called Mary. This is an ancient and spooky urban legend that actually has some kind of truth to it. The legend goes that if you turn off all the lights, light a candle in front of the bathroom mirror and chant the words Bloody Mary into it, then the ghost of Queen Mary I will appear right there in the mirror. Some people even say that she will appear holding a baby, which apparently represents her desperate desire to produce an heir to the English throne. Now if you guys try this, you might not actually see Queen Mary, but some pretty weird things will happen. Apparently something called the Caputo effect kicks in, which is a spontaneous reaction that happens when people's senses are deprived. Studies have shown that when people stare into a mirror in dimly lit rooms, they tend to see apparitions in the mirror. If you tell them it's a ghost of bloody Queen Mary, well then that's what people tend to believe. Now some people might want to believe that Queen Mary will appear in the mirror, but you will not want to believe our number 1 is true. We've covered all kinds of urban legends, from waking up in a morgue, to drinking to stop a hangover, to summoning the ghost of a long dead queen, but I think our number 1 tops all of them. At number 1, it's the Green Man of Pennsylvania. In West Pennsylvania, born and raised on the streets, the Green Man spent most of his days. Parents would scare their children with stories of the Green Man, or Charlie No Face. He was a horribly disfigured character with green skin who lurked by the roadsides at night, trying to stay out of sight, but sometimes people would catch sight of him and the legend would continue. Well, it turns out this all seems so real to local residents because it was actually true. The Green Man was actually a local guy called Raymond Robinson who had a horrible accident when he was a kid. When he was 8 years old, he touched a power line and was electrocuted. He lost both eyes and was horribly disfigured in the process, and the elemental reaction even turned some of his skin green. It's a tragic story, but also a fascinating one. Stories of the Green Man traveled all across the world and people couldn't believe it, so it simply became an urban legend.
Starting off this countdown, we have the glitching cat. Either this cat is walking on an invisible treadmill or it was caught glitching. Recently, this video was uploaded to Reddit and it features a cat walking but staying perfectly in one place. So you might be thinking, aw, poor kitty, the ground must be slippery for them. And that's why it's having trouble walking. No, because a couple seconds into the video, a confused man walks by and the cat stops, turns to him, and then walks in his direction. But then it turns back and starts walking in the spot again. Is this a glitch in the Matrix? Or should I say glitch in the Meowtrix? Sorry, I hate myself. Coming in at number 9, we have Dorothy Gibson. American silent film actress Dorothy Gibson was one of the approximately 700 survivors of the collision. Upon arriving in New York City unscathed, she immediately began filming Saved from the Titanic, the first film to depict the events of the sinking. It was released in May 1912, a month after the crash. She is famous for wearing the same clothes and shoes in the movie as she had worn during the actual sinking. While the film was successful, it exists only in memories now. The only known print of the film was destroyed in a fire. With no proof, it definitely registers as a legend, but one that could be true. We will never truly know. Up next at number 8, we have the ghosts. Now, this one didn't happen on the Titanic per se, but it's so close that we're gonna throw it on this list. The Titanic Artifact Exhibition at the Luxor Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas apparently has a ghost wandering its grand staircase. Employees and guests alike have seen this mysterious woman who wears a black period dress with a white collar and her hair in a bun. One time, a photographer prepped for the opening of the exhibition and he spotted this woman casually walking down the grand staircase. He was startled as he hadn't seen anyone enter and the staircase was roped off. He assumed she was part of the exhibit and asked if she'd like him to photograph her. She ignored him and he went back to setting up. But suddenly, she was directly behind him. Again, he offered a photograph, and this time, she didn't just ignore him, she vanished. Oh. Keeping up with this whole haunted theme, the Georgia Aquarium also houses potentially haunted artifacts from the Titanic. The employees have claimed to see shadows, hear voices, and even be touched by the spirits. The paranormal activity is so intense that the Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Hunters came to investigate. Side note, I would really love to be on an episode of Ghost Hunters, so pass the word forward. They reportedly captured a recording of a voice saying, "No, please wait," in the iceberg room. The team also picked up on several cold spots and witnessed a shadowy figure. After reviewing their findings, they concluded that the Titanic exhibit at the Georgia Aquarium is in fact haunted, probably from the lost souls that went down with the ship. Coming in at number 7, we have the girl named Jessie. There's a creepy legend surrounding the Titanic about a young Scottish girl named Jessie. On the same night the ship went down, Jessie was on the verge of dying. In her delirious state, she supposedly spoke of a massive sinking ship and a man named Wally playing a fiddle. She had no way of knowing the Titanic would sink that night, or that Wallace, aka Wally, would be playing the violin for his last time with his band as the ship went down. And at number 6, we have the racing boat. This myth has long been debated and potentially debunked. We've all heard the Titanic was racing for New York, trying to substantiate claims that she was big and bad and fast, and her captain was not to be messed with. This is why the ship strayed into dangerous waters, lurking with icebergs. In truth, people knew Titanic was fast and had the best engines and boilers in her day, but she wasn't a racing boat. At the time of the impact, most of the Titanic's boilers weren't lit, meaning that the ship was casually traveling. Alternatively, if you look at a map of Titanic's route, it's not suitable for setting records. But alas, this urban legend lingered for years, so we've included it on this list. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the SOS. It's said that the Titanic frantically radioed messages as the crew realized she was doomed. But since the incident was late at night, many ships nearby had their radios turned off. However, some ships did respond, and even Titanic's sister ship, Olympic, sent word that they were coming to help. Legend has it that a passing ship, the Samson, saw Titanic's flares but carried on without a second glance. But in reality, the Samson was nowhere near the Titanic. The one ship that could have made it in time was the Californian, but they didn't receive calls for help. The first ship to reach Titanic survivors was the RMS Carpathia, 2 hours after the sinking. In our 4th spot, we have the curses. Out of all the Titanic curses, you'd think that at least one of them would be true. Well, White Star Line made a point of not holding launching spectacles for their ship when it's often a common practice to, for good luck. On most ships' debuts, companies would make a ceremony of transferring the new ship into the water. This involved cheering, blessings, and large crowds, often smashing a bottle of champagne off the bow as a sacrifice. Thing is, White Star Line never participated in such ceremonies with any of their ships, meaning that if this legend is true, the Titanic wasn't blessed or properly bid good luck. And that's why she sank. Moving on to number 3, we have the deliberate sinking. The Titanic is known as a huge disaster in history. The tragedy missed the onset of the First World War by 2 years, but some still speculate that a German U-boat was really behind the ship sinking. A number of Titanic survivors reported to have noticed an unidentified vessel approximately 5 to 6 miles away from the sinking ship, which reportedly lingered until 2 a.m. According to Dr. Franklin Rule's piece in the Huffington Post, Rule speculated that the craft was possibly a submarine that had surfaced to assess the damage it had caused to the Titanic. He also cited survivor testimony about a number of explosions that seemed to go off deep within the ship. He claims the sub may have deliberately targeted the luxury liner or possibly accidentally collided with it. In our 2nd spot, we have the Lookout. Apparently, Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee, who were crewmen on the Titanic, didn't have access to binoculars during the journey, and therefore couldn't see very far. The ship's 2nd officer was replaced at the last minute and forgot to hand off the key to the lockers that housed the ship's binoculars. The key resurfaced at an auction in 2010, where it was sold for over $130,000. According to the official 1912 inquiry findings, only 37 seconds elapsed between actually seeing the iceberg, calling downstairs, and deciding what course of action to take. Fleet was the lookout who called out the now famous words, "Iceberg right ahead." He survived the sinking, but tragically went on to die by suicide in 1965 after the death of his wife. On the centennial anniversary of the Titanic sinking, a prankster removed a memorial reef from his gravestone and replaced it with a pair of binoculars, and a note apologizing for the lateness of the binoculars. And in our number 1 spot, we have the conspiracy theory. This rumor has everything you could ever want in a conspiracy theory. A man powerful and wealthy enough to play God, overly complicated methods of assassination, a mass casualty event, the Federal Reserve Bank. There's a theory out there that J.P. Morgan sank the Titanic in order to pave the way for the establishment of the Federal Reserve Bank in the U.S. The bank's creation was reportedly opposed by millionaire John Jacob Astor, Benjamin Guggenheim, and Macy's co-owner Isidore Straus. These 3 wealthy men did indeed lose their lives when the Titanic sank, but Morgan dodged death and disaster when he canceled his trip in the 11th hour. This dude owned the IMM, which in turn owned the White Star Line. Morgan was reportedly supposed to be on the ship, but decided to skip the voyage at the last second. How convenient. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette reported that he decided to linger in Europe in order to buy tapestries for his art collection. But what reason would Morgan have to allegedly sink his own ship? Well, conspiracy theorists say that in the interest of clearing away opposition to the Federal Reserve Bank, Morgan somehow manipulated all of his rivals to sail on the ship so that he could sink it. But Layton pointed out that it's almost unimaginable that Morgan could have gotten all 3 of his major rivals to take the same trip. Like, what are the odds? He says, surely there had to be an easier way to carry out the plan. Even more importantly, how is it that no one came forward in the century since and said, yes, I helped to set up the sinking of the Titanic in order to kill 3 men who were opposed to the formation of the U.S. Federal Reserve.
And number 10, which is the shadowy figure lurking in your home. One of the oldest fears in the book is that there's someone in your house when you think you're alone. Someone under your bed, someone in the hallway behind you. It's a classic fear, but for one man, it actually came true. A Japanese man became suspicious that he was not alone in his house when he noticed food was going missing from his refrigerator. He installed security cameras that were linked to his phone to try and see if he could catch the intruder in the act, but what he found was even more terrifying. He saw a woman climbing out from a building cupboard designed to store bedding and mattresses. I mean, this is crazy. Imagine how much you'd freak out if you saw someone living in your cupboard for God knows how long. It actually turned out the woman was homeless and she'd been moving from house to house doing this for a year. Okay, from waking up in a cupboard on purpose, we move on to our...
In our 9th spot, we have the television. Posted on Reddit by user Spice Rack, he was trying to take a photo of his kittens when he caught a huge glitch on camera. They explained that they were trying to capture a photo of the hidden cat on the gray blanket. When he showed his friends, they're like, yo dude, look at your TV. Turns out that the TV screen is showing a different image than its reflection in the mirror. Now, a lot of people tried to debunk this. He thought maybe he took the photo sideways with a professional camera, since cameras snap the photo from up to down. That could explain the change. But the poster verified that it was taken horizontally with an LG G5 with a 135-degree wide-angle lens, hence why the door at the side looks a bit warped. He didn't use panorama, and no stitching was involved, and it wasn't done intentionally. This was taken as a single shot. Quite weird, huh? What are the odds? Moving on, at number 8, we have the disappearing motorists. No, this isn't proof of teleportation. They aren't driving into a portal and transporting somewhere miles away, although it certainly looks like that. I don't know about you, but when I first saw this video, I was mind blown. Like, I really thought they were going to be driving off the road and into the water. Now, someone on Reddit has managed to debunk this one. Seems as if whoever is filming this is high up on a building looking down, and the water we see is actually just the top of a wet building. But the way it's angled makes it look like they're really going under a bridge and disappearing. Let me know if you see it now. In our 7th spot today, we have the sky glitch. Posted by Reddit user Grimsby545, they were headed to their friend's house when they legitimately saw the sky glitching and took a picture of the moment. Look at that! The sky didn't know if it was night or daytime. Now, I have seen the sunset, but I have never seen the sky do something like this. Now, some think that it's just a giant cloud blocking the sky. If it is, then that's one massive dark cloud, like it literally blocked the sun and majority of the sky. Either way, it looks like a glitch of the Matrix where the nighttime sky didn't load completely. Moving on, at number 6, we have the broken bracelet. Now, this is probably one of the weirdest glitches in the Matrix of all time. So, Reddit user Miss MXSN posted on Reddit about how she found a bead from her bracelet on her floor while sweeping. She immediately thought, oh no, my bracelet broke. But it didn't. The bracelet still had 15 gems and 15 turtles on it. But all of a sudden, she had this extra turtle bead. Plus, the bracelet was perfectly fine. Now, people immediately shared a number of different theories with her. One was that her bracelet broke and someone in her family bought a replacement one so that she wouldn't notice. Only problem with this is that she claims she never takes this bracelet off and it was bought while she was on vacation, so it's not just from a local store. Another person thought maybe the bead had a fine crack in it and it slipped off the string. But like she said, she always had 15 turtles on the bracelet, and that's how many she still had. Plus, upon inspection of the turtle bead, there were no cracks or flaws. So something glitched and she ended up with an extra bead. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the cat dog. This is another video making its rounds on TikTok right now. Let me show it to you. So it appears as if the camera person's neighbor's dog is up on the roof. But you might be thinking, where is its body? Well, it looks like it's just peeking its head up onto the roof to see what's going on, right? Wrong. Let's see the full video. That's right, it's a cat, folks. The whole time, that was a cat. So this cat has a dog's face on its backside. How trippy and glitchy is that? That's a plot twist no one was expecting. In our 4th spot, we have the doubled up cars. Now, what are the odds of 2 of the exact same cars parking next to each other? And not in a dealership parking lot. Having the same make and model and color of the car being parked right next to you is pretty rare, right? Now, what are the odds of another set of identical cars being parked behind these identical cars? It's a very slim chance of this happening, but it happened in real life. So not only are the 2 blue Audis identical, but check the cars in the back as well. You got 2 identical Range Rovers back there. Someone out there really said copy paste, copy paste. Coming in at number 3, we have the spawning in. Now this video is another one going viral on TikTok right now, and it's baffling a lot of people. But basically, a security camera caught a man appearing out of nowhere. Check it out. Is this evidence of a man using his teleportation skills? How on earth did he just spawn out of nowhere? Now, of course, he could have been hanging out of the side of the van, or he jumped out while the van was still in motion. But if that was me and I jumped off of a moving van, I would have been like, whoa, you know, try and get my balance. But this guy was standing still, not off balance or anything. So let me know what you think. Did he jump out of a moving van and stick his landing? Or is he a teleporter? Or both? Coming in at number 2, we have the triplets. Bus passengers were shocked when they got on a bus and saw 3 identical looking men sitting in a straight line and all asleep. These men are complete strangers, yet they somehow all got on the same bus, all sat behind each other, and all decided to take a wee snooze. I just can't get over the fact that these men aren't related. Like, the first 2 could definitely pass as twins. This is just weird. Like, what are the odds? And in our number 1 spot today, we have the crossword ladies. If you thought that last picture was crazy, wait until you take a look at this one. These ladies are complete strangers, yet they look like twins and they're both dressed identically. They both are rocking some black pants with the exact same patterned blouse. They have glasses on their face and they both have a pair of dark sunglasses on the top of their head. Not only that, but they both have a love for crosswords as they are both doing one. Like, someone will look at this photo and think that it was set up, but no, these women are complete strangers. Again, literally somebody said, copy paste.